You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Happy 4th of July, Rusty. That's it, Aaron. That's it. Go, go, go. We planned that out, Aaron. You don't remember the 3 hours of rehearsal? Oh, I forgot the line. Damn it. Well, happy 4th of July anyway, Rusty. And to any other American listeners we may have out there, welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday. The show is a presentation of a Bet365 or whatever your bet is. It is never ordinary. At Bet365, download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. Bet365. You must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Rest of my words then. Welcome into the Sports Closet studio as well. Coom is here.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing, Cam?
I'm not doing bad. It's been a nice week, I find. The weather's really good.
The weather has picked up. It is also feels like it has been Friday 3 days this week.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's either Friday or Sunday at this point of the year.
Yeah,
It's one of those 2 days every day.
My fiance is a teacher, so she's just been off work the whole
We
week.
stand with the teachers.
Yeah.
We do. We stand with the
Teachers
teachers.
Unite. Shout out Alberta Teachers Association. We'll see you back in September.
You know what? Yeah. No,
Will we? Will we?
They get
Throw
another
'em
one.
up.
They get another one.
Are the kids getting an extended summer this year?
Looking like it.
It's looking like
You
they
might. You might not. You might still have been in England when there was. Would have been back in like 2004 when they had the strike right around spring break, and we
Yeah, I
wound up
remember.
having like all of March off. That was sick.
Yeah, I was never around for a.
You never got a teacher strike?
No, I don't think so.
Not even in Mother England. You guys just had
No.
labor peace the whole time.
We're a peaceful nation.
Sounds like
the
England.
United Kingdom. We just love being part of
Non-stop
everything
labor
and then
peace.
just leaving. Also, yeah, like I said, we're in a Sports Closet studio. Check out their locations for official team apparel and sports collectibles for all major leagues and official sports merchandise and apparel for every fan. 3 locations: Sherwood Park Mall, St. Albert Center, Kingsway Mall, or shop online at sportscloset.ca. I believe I saw on their Twitter today that Sports Closet has a temporary location at the Kingsway Mall. So where you think it usually is, you might have to go around and find it.
You can get like a smoothie from the food court and walk around the mall and look for their new location.
Go grab a smoothie
Have a nice afternoon.
I'm sure there's an Oodle Noodle at Kingsway.
I think so.
I'm pretty positive about that. You can go get a Oodle Noodle. Go to Sports Closet. Do we ever?
Look at that ad reads
Is there a
together.
restaurant in there? I'm sure you can grab some Budweiser.
Everything we've said so far has been an ad.
Yeah, we're just pure ads. Can't get Sherwood Ford in there though. But just quickly over in the Odd Company YouTube chat. I won't do that read just yet, Aaron. But there it is, Odd Company. I'll do it right now. Go grab some Nation beer. Maybe grab a pizza. The day's not great today, but you know the
This
weekend's
is a nice
approaching.
temperature.
But like in comparison to what we've had, it's not the best.
But if you're the kind of guy that likes wearing a long sleeve shirt with a zipper like I do, then this is a great temperature.
Do you have a
for that.
T-shirt on, young men?
I don't. This is just all skin underneath.
Wow.
You like that?
Don't get that solo shot. Yeah. Okay, let's see what people are saying in the YouTube chat right now. Yanni Amu, I believe, is our Finnish listener. Thanks for tuning in, Yanni.
Nidima?
Bob Stauffer said yesterday that the Oilers might move on from Matias Janmark. I said right before the show the Oilers should move on from Matias Janmark for one reason, and it's not because he's bad. It's because he makes $1.4 million. And now that you have Curtis Lazar and Noah Philp, even Kapanen's making less money than him. Sorry, Damas Tomsek. Like Matias Janmark could be someone who's extendable. He has a role. Warren Fogle in the chat says, "What, that would be so dumb." QF Pro says that would be interesting. Would you consider moving on from Janmark? And also, too, this isn't necessarily about creating money to bring in another player right now. The Oilers obviously want to accrue quite a bit of cap throughout the season. And a $1.4 million player in your fourth line that can kill penalties, there's no denying he's a decent penalty killer, might be a bit more of a luxury than they want to spend on.
Yeah, it might be. You might not really want to be the Oilers spending, because given how close they are to the cap and how close they, even when you look at their salary cap picture next year, assuming Connor McDavid signs the new contract and gets a raise on his current cap hit, which I think we all think is going to happen, then again, it becomes a lot tighter, and paying guys like this, a Janmark who isn't getting any younger, of course, is 32 years old, and then as we know, when you're 32 years old, then you're pretty over the hill then.
So yes, you are.
For guys like Janmark, you sort of wonder when they come into training camp this year, do you have a guaranteed roster spot on this team? This isn't a contract that Stan Bowman signed, so this could potentially be a guy who goes onto waivers at the beginning of October, and the Oilers try to see, look, is anybody interested in grabbing this guy and just taking the full cap hit? But the thing that I don't really see for the Oilers in the American Hockey League is a handful of good, defensive two-way checkers that can kill penalties and come up and do that on league minimum salaries. I don't think they really have a whole bunch of guys in the Bakersfield Condors who make it easy to shove a Matias Janmark out the window. That's why maybe this is a player they look to move on from mid-season. I don't really see it happening in the offseason before the year starts, unless it's a deal where it's more of a hockey trade, money coming in, money coming out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's actually quite a lot of players still available on free agency, I would say, in comparison to like previous years. If the Oilers wanted to go out and find another $775,000 player, then I think it's out there for them to go and do. Well, hey, like, I know it was more the Ken Holland era than the Stan Bowman era, but like, they're not afraid to throw out PTO, so like, maybe we could see something like that happen. Kevin McCurdy's actually in the chat and said that, funny comment to start, Liam, and I don't always agree. Well, $1.45 million for a fourth line player is an overpay and not efficient. We will definitely agree on that, Kevin. I've been saying this for quite a while, and Rick always yells at me. The other one was in there. Sorry, I think it was Kyle says, does he have a no trade clause? He has a 10-team no trade list. So quite a lot. That's pretty. How he has one is beyond me.
It's shocking, these negotiations. You're giving Matias Janmark 3 years, and it still winds up being over the $1 million or $1.15 million threshold to send a guy down to the AHL and have their contract be buried. And he winds with a 10-team no trade. It's shocking because it's like, I understand he had a good playoff run last year, but were you really negotiating against that many teams that were willing to sign something like this last summer too, before the cap went up?
You look back at that last summer in comparison to this one, and you would have hoped that the Oilers were very ruthless this year in the sense of like, sorry, Corey Perry, we're not paying you an extra $2 million
New
in
GM.
bonuses.
They're not as players anymore. So.
Yeah, like Connor Brown, like, thank you so much for taking your discount last season after a miserable year before that where you scored 4 goals. It took you till game 60 whatever to get one. But no, sorry, we're not paying you a 4-year deal for $3 million.
Yeah.
And I actually really like that approach. And now I'm curious, like, as Stan Bowman kind of continues to put his imprint on this team, like, what his next move is going to be. There's still a lot of question marks on the Oilers, but that kind of leads into our Budweiser poll question. Budweiser is encouraging buds like Cam and I to make more time for hockey, not excuses. I actually got asked to play on a men's league team this summer. I said, sorry, I can barely skate. When it comes to hockey time, it's go time. Grab a bud and drink some Budweiser. The last part was just my own.
You improvised,
so you can feel 3 Budweiser to throw in.
You see why Budweiser sees
I had
the value.
9 buds last night.
Did you really?
With some buds.
More
With
on
some
that
buds.
later.
Yeah.
More on that at 6. Budweiser poll question. Now, quiet offseason so far. Obviously, the Oilers have made 2 additions of Matt and Giuppani and Curtis Lazar. The significant ones, of course. They've made a couple of the small ones too. Riley Stillman, Matt Tompkins. But the ultimate question is, do you think the Oilers have the best roster in the Pacific Division? So that's obviously LA, Vegas, San Jose, Anaheim, Vancouver, Calgary, and the team you may, and I definitely always forget about, the Seattle Kraken. So we're going to put that in the poll. Maybe if you think no, put in the chat who you think they are, because this is going to lead into our show for giant question, Coom. Hockey fans helping hockey fans. Free valet service for all Oilers fans.
Had too many Budweisers.
Yeah. Never visit the dealership again. Get an exclusive swag package with every Nation valet service. Book online and get automatically entered to win a monthly prize draw. Book online at shoredford.ca/Nation valet service. Sorry, Nation-valet-service. Make sure you add Oilers Nation Valet into the pickup comments to get in on the draw. Cam, we've obviously not had you on the show since free agency began because Tyler and I have only done a couple of them ourselves. We're almost a week into this thing, or the opening weekend of it. Did the Edmonton Oilers get better this offseason? As we also go through this kind of exercise, we're going to compare the Oilers to the other Pacific Division teams as well. But my opening question to you, Cam, is did the Oilers get better this offseason than, let's just say, did they get better?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a twofold question, and that's what you're sort of leading me into there, and it's you can look at it a couple of different ways. Are the Oilers better right now than they were a couple of weeks ago when they were playing in the Stanley Cup final, when they had, just plowed through the Western Conference in, what was it, like 16 games or 15 games or something? They only lost 4 games against Western Conference teams in the first 3 rounds, I believe. Mm-hmm. And are they better than that version of the Oilers? No, I don't think so. But I mean, it's sort of arbitrary right now in July because this isn't the team the Oilers are going to take into the playoffs in 2026. I think over the past few years, you sort of look at where the Oilers have made their improvements, and you obviously have Zach Hyman as the huge free agent ad the Oilers have made. Obviously, probably the best free agent ad in team history. I mean, easily the best free agent ad in team history. But a lot of other players the Oilers have added in recent years have come at the trade deadline. There's big ones like Matias Ekholm, of course. Ken Holland's probably biggest trade as Oilers GM. And then there's smaller names too, Adam Henrique, Brett Kulak. And then you also have sort of maybe the luckier ones like Evander Kane or Corey Perry or John Klingberg because of whatever situation they were in. The Oilers were able to acquire these players in January the past few seasons. So, the Oilers aren't better right now than they were in the Stanley Cup final or the playoffs. They might not even be better than they were last fall, but I think they're equipped decently to go out and improve during the season. I think they're in a fine spot now to make a couple of swings ahead of the trade deadline. And we just talked in the last segment, like maybe that comes down to moving out Matias Janmark, or Kasperi Kapanen just re-signed his deal, but maybe he gets moved out during the season. Maybe it's Adam Henrique. Who knows what it is? But the Oilers can go into the season this year with a handful of veterans on their roster who they think these guys are solid, but they're not players that Stan Bowman acquired, and it wouldn't be shocking to see a Janmark or a Henrique move so that the Oilers can facilitate a different in-season move.
I would definitely agree. Currently, right now, on Puckpedia, the Oilers have 175,000, close to 176,000 in projected cap space, but that is with Max Jones on the roster and Noah Philp not on the roster. So by my calculations, Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, that would put them at 250,000. No, that's well wrong. They're over 200,000. Maybe someone can let me know quickly in the chat. But obviously a bunch of wild cards on the team, but quickly in the comments on the Odd Company YouTube. Naeem said, we still have replacement level goaltending and lack of forward depth. Not the best in the division in the regular season, but our stars carriers. And there was another comment here too from Kyle saying, Vancouver got worse, Vegas got worse, LA got way worse. We'll get into the other rosters as well. Juicy, I believe that says. Icy, sorry. Whoops. Best top 6, maybe, but not the best roster. And I think Ryan S. had a really good comment, which is quite interesting about the Oilers team, is I wouldn't say the other teams have a better roster, but more like the Oilers might struggle until guys start to pop. And I think that's a really key part of what this Oilers team can be next season, is you're looking at guys like Matthew Savoy to obviously take a step. Like, what is Noah Philp at the NHL level? When does Zach Hyman come back from his injury? I don't think he's going to start the season, and that's going to be a problem. Like, what does Vasily Podkolzin do to become a more consistent scoring forward? And I think that's a big thing for this team, is like they're definitely going to have to wait for guys to show up. But the good news is they have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid on their teams, and that should help them out pretty well. And Naeem said they're not a deep forward group. It's interesting because I think by name value, yes, they're probably not as deep, but like I think
there's upside there though.
Yeah, totally. Like a guy like Matthew Savoy, like, and one thing I think will help his team in a way too is the lack of expectation. In a way, like no one's expecting Mangiapane to go off and have this incredible season. But if he scores 15 goals next season, it's just the same as what Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson both did. We just expected those guys to score 20 or 25 goals. And I think it's the same thing with Savoy. I think they're a little bit worse, but not by a lot. And I think it's because they lost guys like Brown more than lost guys like Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner. I think Brown as a fourth-line player instead of Kasperi Kapanen is a huge upgrade on the team. So that's where I kind of look at things. I think that blue line is shaped to go off and do very good things this season. Like I think it's being very undervalued. That I know Stan Bowman said Ekholm was healthy, which was a crazy comment to make considering Connor McDavid said he was suffering with a significant groin injury. So that's always something. by reports as well, I was listening to Bob's show too, and he said that Jake Wallman was a bit knocked up in the cup final as well. Like, I think injuries eventually just caught up to this team so much that we're forgetting how dominant they were through the Western Conference.
Think about all the games they played, right? Back-to-back Stanley Cup final, and then, you know, you have Connor McDavid and a handful of other players as well at the Four Nations. Like, it's been a long stretch of time for the Oilers here. Not much time off. So, I mean, you think about the regular season, it's like, are we going to see the best version of the Oilers from October to February the entire time? No, probably not. This is a team, again, that's played a ton of games. So I think all that really matters ultimately is how good does this team look come March and April? What position are they in to add? And I think they're in a fine spot flexibility-wise.
And that's what matters. It's not about winning July 1st. And I said this the other day on after the free agency kind of wrapped up, I guess, the busy part of it. Look at what Florida did last July 1st. They signed Jesper Boquist, and Adam Boquist, actually, a couple of days after. AJ Greer. I believe they got the other fourth-line player on the team, Thomas Nosek.
Yeah, they lost
Nate Schmidt. They lost Brandon Montour. They lost Ekman Larson, Tarasenko.
That whole fourth line
was all gone. Anthony Stolarz as well, another guy. Like, they did not go out and improve their team to like significant margins. That is not why they got the Stanley Cup final.
They got Seth Jones. They facilitated that trade during the season. They were able to.
Marchand.
Yeah, Brad Marchand, of course. Like, there's a lot that goes into what Florida was able to do last year because of Aaron Ekblad getting suspended and Matthew Tkachuk going on the long-term injured reserve. I mean, they did get some help, I'll say. I mean,
to say the least.
But it does fit the narrative of you don't have to be the July 1 team. Last year it was the Nashville Predators who we all thought were going to be the team. They had, Steve Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea on the blue line. We thought, wow. And even the Oilers last year, like the guys they signed, Arvidsson, Skinner, everybody thought, wow, this is the most exciting free agency day the Oilers have had since they signed Ben Eager and Darcy Hordachuk and Eric Belanger. And so many times you had these players on July 1, and sometimes players get their contract and then they aren't the same player. That's just the way it goes. So again, I think the Oilers are in a good spot to make those in-season improvements, and that's like we saw with Florida last year, and even with Edmonton, like Jake Wallman. Think about that addition in season. Nobody was talking about the Oilers getting Jake Wallman in July of last year, and then they went out and get him in March, and he's a very good top 4 D-man. We haven't seen much from Trent Frederick, but it's the same thing. Like, we weren't really talking much last year about, maybe the Oilers will go and get Trent Frederick, like a versatile center/winger who's physical, can score some goals. It's one of those things that just materialized during the season.
Tammy has a comment in the chat and said, for the players who left, she must have put, people who talk about the goaltending need to stop. Our goalies went to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row. Stu is still young, and developing new goalie coach is needed. Sounds like there will be a bit of news on a goalie coach whenever that comes, but sounds like there might be a bit of change there, more than necessarily at the duo that the Oilers have right now, but we'll have a little bit more on that in the rumor mill shortly. Tammy continued on to say, for the players who left, 29 and 27 made them look good. Mangiapane and Lazar are excited to be here and want to win, not chasing the cash. More on Mangiapane too, because there was an interesting report from our friend David Pagnotta as well when he was talking to Brendan Escott on Inside Sports. So that was, I think the Oilers, like the poll question right now, 55% of listeners, 116 votes, if you're going to vote and get it in right now on the YouTube, are saying that the Oilers do not have a better roster than the best roster in the Pacific Division area. And if we can flesh up, let's go from bottom to top. Why not? We'll get through a couple of them quickly here. If we can go San Jose quickly, I mean, it's an easy one to knock off. But I actually wrote an article the other day of grading every team in the Pacific for what they did on July 1st. And I can't remember, I think it was a B+. I gave them.
And that was before they did Orlov and Leddy as well.
Yeah, but when you look at their team, like, they're bad. There's no denying it. But they didn't get in the way of their players' developments. I think adding guys like Kurashev, Gadet, and at the time I only wrote about Klingberg, not Orlov, because they also got Nick Leddy as well. Great additions, because they can just trade them.
Yeah. Those are like second and third round picks. I mean, in the case
Klingberg
of Orlov,
might get them a first.
Yeah, Klingberg, if he has a good season. Like, it's not ridiculous to think they can get a second or a late first for Klingberg.
He's the only guy that can play on the power play. Mm-hmm. He's going
to rack up points.
Totally. And I think this is a great fit for him. Obviously, played in Anaheim a little bit too, so a big fan of trying to get to California in free agency. don't get it twisted, but like I would not be surprised if the others were like, we'll go get John Klingberg back at the deadline.
Oh, it wouldn't be, because
Like, you go back and look through, there's not a ton of...
there's familiarity.
Yeah, there's familiarity. The market actually isn't like that glamorous.
Yeah.
Troy Stetcher was on another podcast. I forget the name of it, but he was saying like it was amazing how quickly he connected with the team and like how funny it was, and he was just like such a great guy to be around. Like I'm like we all saw it.
He was good in the playoffs.
He was good in the playoffs.
He was solid.
Got way better, and I wonder how much of a confidence booster it can be for him to go to San Jose. Don't get me wrong; they'll be terrible.
They'll be
this year.
bad.
They'll be in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes, but like, how much does that help him? Can he become an asset for the Oilers maybe down the road again? I don't think it's out of the question. $2 million deal if you get him 50% retained. Well, it's obviously better than the San Jose Sharks. That's not really part of it. Seattle, honestly, we can lock. I think they might be the worst team in the NHL. Not on play, like they have good players, but it's like, I hate this team.
It's ridiculous how the Vegas Golden Knights came in and did what they did, and then the Kraken came in and they were like, you know what, let's be the early 2000s Minnesota Wild or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they had such a favorable setup in the expansion draft, and you go back to the decisions they made and the players left on the board.
Terrible.
You wonder what it was they were doing, and then it looked like they're building through the draft, but it doesn't really seem like they've hit on too many of these picks. Like even Shane Wright and Matty Beniers are supposed to be your 1-2 for the next decade or whatever, but it doesn't really look like a very exciting core to build around.
No, and obviously, I believe the Coachella Valley Firebirds is their name. That's their AHL team. They won the American League Championship a couple of seasons ago. So maybe there's a couple of guys that can come through, like Ryder Evers, who's been a decent player for them. And
I'd take Adam Larson back.
I would do in a hobby. He just re-signed, right?
I'd say
So
him and Jordan Eberle both got new deals recently.
Here's my hot take. They will compete. Well, it's not even a hot take. They're going to compete for last in the division. San Jose will be worse, but like it's funny.
They were behind Anaheim last year, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so. But
Anaheim
it's just
got
like
better.
you look at this team, and it just feels like this is a team that's supposed to win games. San Jose is a team that's supposed to lose games. So it's like different mentality. They'll probably be a lot closer than people think. Calgary, quickly. They're old. I actually think Craig Conroy did a great job on free agency again because he just didn't add any more old, shitty contracts.
Yeah.
And that's a valuable thing for them. Kevin Ball, everyone's looking at it being like, what a terrible deal. Well, they literally have no other left shot defenseman. So they had to sign him. Rasmus Anderson will get him some stuff back. Matt Coronado, Connor Zary, both good players. Backlund, free agent this season. Pending free agent this season. Will they move on from him? I think that's an interesting one. Calgary will not make a push for the playoffs this year.
No, I don't
They'll
think
be
so.
way worse.
They had a pretty decent season last year standings-wise, I think, largely due to Dustin Wolf. He was one of those low-key MVPs on a bad team that brought them a lot further than they probably should have been. But I don't know. I mean, he's going to be a good goalie, I think, in the NHL, but I'm just not sure if he's going to lift the Flames up again that much next year.
Well, the other thing is, last season, I know Dan Vladar's numbers were down, but he was still like a goalie you could turn to in moments and be like, okay, he can win us this game. Their current backup goalie is Devin Cooley.
Who?
Exactly. He's a career minor league player. He's 28 years old. He's played 6 games in the NHL. If they need a backup goalie, and I know it seems like a minuscule thing, but I love what Kevin said in the chat there too. Time to trade for Jared McCann. What an addition he
is
would
this
be.
Is this a stealth tanking year for Calgary? Are they doing a sneaky try and get Gavin McKenna? Like where they're not going into the year being like, oh yeah, we're actively tanking because they still want to sell season tickets, but they're probably not that far off from the kind of fire sale where you're like, okay, you see Michael Backlund go and Rasmus Anderson go, and what's left?
Yeah, I would also say too, even if you don't get Gavin McKenna, but you're in that top 5, this is an unreal draft.
This looks like a better draft than the previous year.
Yes, this previous year there was guys projected to be 4th liners at the end of the first. That's not good. Continuing on, Aaron, just flash anyone up. Anaheim, playoff team.
Mighty
maybe.
Ducks.
I think this team's actually really good. They look way better. Way better. That top 9 is legit. Obviously, they have to get Mason McTavish re-signed. I think this is the 4th best team in the division.
Behind
the Oilers, LA, and Vegas.
Right, that makes sense.
I think Anaheim's the 4th best team. I think they've got some legit players. Obviously, they're going to bank on their young guys taking another step, which it's not always going to happen, but when you have so many of them, like you would imagine at least 2 or 3 of them can continue on. Their blue line, not amazing, but I think good enough considering the other teams in the division.
Jackson Lacombe's a stud.
He's legit. He's really good. Radko Dudas, obviously the captain, pending UFA. I would suspect they re-signed him, moved on from John Gibson. I just think they did a good job of allowing their young guys still to move forward with this organization and like keep pushing them in the right way whilst adding guys like Kreider and Granlund. Are they overpaid players? Yes. Does Anaheim have too much money to spend? Yes. They're going to be totally fine with those two guys if they both pop home like 20 goals and 50 points each or somewhere around there. Like, they just need to take a step, and I really think it's a strong team.
Can those guys be a Tyler Toffoli like in a San Jose?
Like Chris Kreider.
Sleeping in the same beds.
Yeah. Chris Kreider is only 2 years removed from scoring 39 goals. Mm-hmm. Granlund, I think, was one of Dallas's best players in the series against the Oilers. Yep. He was a good player. And I know everyone's like looks at the deal, but like, yikes. But yeah, Leon, puts in the chat. The Ducks have no D and no goalie. Lucas Dostal is legit.
Yeah. That's why they were comfortable trading John Gibbs. Totally. I mean, there's somewhat of a risk there because, I mean, you're going with a young goalie, but he's been a goalie who's been good in the AHL. He's looked good in the NHL for a while. I think the big thing for Anaheim, last year they finished 30th in the league with 217 goals, and I mean, they got rid of Trevor Zegras in the offseason. I feel like that just wasn't really working out. He's a flashy and exciting player, but I'm not really sure if that's a player you build around. And I mean, I don't know. They added veteran players, and they're going to be a harder team to play against. But do you really see Anaheim being considerably better than the third worst offensive team last year? Like, do you see them making a jump up, say, 10 spots into 20th in the league in goals for, even to be right in the mix for the playoffs?
I would think that gap gets closer for sure. I just think Kreider and Granlund are able to kind of tighten that up for them quite a bit. Like Troy Terry's on their third line. And
that's
Frank
a pretty
Petrano.
Good top nine.
Those are good players. I think our fourth line is just a good, hardworking fourth line. Who's that say? 62? I think he's just a rookie, isn't he? Whoever that is. I think they're
Nikita Nesterenko, duh.
Of course. I mean, I 100% agree with what you're saying. I actually don't think they will make the playoffs. I just think they'll make such a push until the end. Like, don't expect any players to be available on Anaheim.
Yeah, they're not going to be selling.
No. Like, they're also coached by Joel Quenneville.
That is true.
And Jay Woodcroft is an assistant coach. Their staff is legit.
They could see a lot of internal progression from some of these young guys.
That's what I think. And last season, too, the only team that, increased their point total from the year prior that was more than Anaheim was Washington. And Anaheim increased their total by 20 points. So it was an impressive season from them. Quickly, we'll move on to Vancouver. They did not get that much better. I think our top 6 is decent.
It's sort of the same team, right? Because we kind of thought, maybe Brock Besser will leave. That seemed like it was going to happen. And then Thatcher Demko sort of seemed like the Canucks might move on there, but they just wound up re-signing both those guys. Garland got a new deal, and really the only difference is just Evander Kane's in the mix now, and I don't really know how that's going to work out for the Canucks.
That bottom 6 is horrendous.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
It is so bad. That third line is a fourth line.
They got to rely on defense and goaltending. I think the Canucks have to be like, I mean, their head coach is Adam Foote. So it's like, you're going to have to be a stingy, hard to score against defensive team. And you're going to have to hope that Elias Pettersson bounces back and is, now that JT Miller's not there screaming at him that he can do his thing. Because there isn't much offense there.
No, there's not. And Ian put in the chat too, Vancouver is thin down the middle. To say the least.
Yeah, Cheadle's number 2 isn't ideal.
I think he's a good player. I think they have a lot of good players. I don't want this to get put out in a different way, but like, I think DeBrusk is a great second line left winger, and I think Connor Garland is a great third line right winger. Brock Besser and Pedersen both can be legit first line players, and obviously you have Quinn Hughes and Hronek, who are known as like one of the best duos in the NHL.
The blue line's good.
That blue line's
the forward
solid.
group. It looks like everyone's one spot ahead of
I was literally just about to say,
if you moved all those guys down
ahead.
one, then it's like, Elias Pettersson's a great second line.
Kane is a 3, DeBrusk is a 2. Yeah.
Naeem said Canucks should be a playoff team though. They'll push, but like, I think the Central
that comes down
division,
to Demko, I think.
Yeah, it really does. Demko's health. Like, you look at a team like Utah, what steps are they able to make? Is Nashville better than what they were last season? Like, I don't think that blue line
hard to be
very
that bad
good,
again.
But like, they should make some steps. Quickly, we'll move on to the other two teams because this kind of comes down to the poll question. It should have just been, do you think the Oilers are better than the Vegas Golden Knights and LA Kings? But let's look at the LA Kings roster quickly, Aaron, if that's the one you have pulled up here. Obviously, the LA Kings made a lot of headlines.
Summer of Ken.
Ken Holland just going out and spending some money. But when you look at this team, It's really not as bad as people made it.
No, it's
seem.
just funny contracts. The roster
contracts
itself it's fine.
Yeah, their blue line's questionable. Don't get me wrong. Like the Oilers eventually figured out a Joel Edmondson and were like, oh, he's just physical. We can skate by him.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same with Cody Ceci. Brian Dumoulin's slightly underrated. Brent Clark's legit. I would have kept Jordan Spence. Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty are a good pairing, I would think. Especially Mikey Anderson's contract now. It's like $4 million. It's really good. But like, that forward group is really solid.
Yeah.
And I think probably deeper than the Oilers. I don't think probably. I would take most of that.
Doesn't have the
Bottom
same
six.
top level, but
No, it doesn't. But like that
it's
bottom
better in
six,
the second and third. Like bottom 9, I guess.
Ryan said it there. He's like, not a bad lineup, terrible contracts. And Sergeant Battle said, no, it's bad. I think the LA Kings will be perfectly fine. They're not going to fall off a cliff like some people are making it
They just look like a team that's going to lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so that'll be very... I loved your line for the Corey Perry thing. That was so funny. Go check that out on Oilers Nation too. I think this team's decent. I think their forward group is probably a little bit better than the Oilers, but I think the Oilers' blue line is significantly better than this. So I would give the Oilers the edge. I think their goaltending... Hey, if we want to... Kemper's better than Skinner. I still think the Oilers overall are probably a better team. I know I just labeled their forward group and their goalies are better, but the blue line is a significant advantage for Edmonton.
And it's the top level talent.
And the top end talent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anze Kopitar is the... I might not be... Not everyone might agree with me on this, but I still think Anze Kopitar is the best forward on this team, and he's, 38?
Yeah, him and Kempe, for sure. But Byfield was good last season. He was legit.
Yeah. He's still got a ways to go before he's playing well against a McDavid or a Draisaitl in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like Kuzmenko, I would take Nuge any day of the week. You know, you're looking at a young guy with Jared Alvarez, Alexi Lafreniere.
I don't see a winner as good as Zach Hyman.
No, definitely not. So, yeah, I think the Oilers are a better team than the LA Kings and will show in the regular season. Corey Perry is going to be a very interesting player on that team because he's old and doesn't get to play with McDavid and Draisaitl anymore. He wasn't exactly... I don't want it to sound like I'm crapping on him because Corey Perry was a fantastic player for the Oilers. But it wasn't often he was scoring outside of playing with McDavid and Draisaitl. They obviously put him up there for a reason. He was very effective at it, but like it was a bit of hit and miss for him. So let's look at the Vegas Golden Knights quickly here. Very interesting offseason. I put in my article for them. Good day because you got Mitch Marner, best player on the market. There's no denying they got better because they got Mitch Marner in their forward group. But also a bad day because you lost Alex Pietrangelo, who obviously wasn't himself in the playoffs, missed the 4 Nations. I do think that situation has really been blown out of proportion just because it's the Vegas Golden Knights. But like, he's never coming back.
Yeah, he has genuine injuries. Like you read, and it sounds like a worse version of what sort of Evander Kane. Remember last year we were talking about all the surgeries he had to get done, a bunch of different stuff. It's even worse than that.
So from what I was told by a real person, he had a knee injury, which then lingered, and it took him a while to get surgery on it, and then that affected his hips. So he has to get double hip surgery.
Oh, God.
So that's him done for his career, unfortunately. But Vegas, very interesting lineup. Because again, Aaron, if you could put it full screen, my eyes aren't the best anymore. I'm 29. Great top 6 forward group. Marner, Eichel. They have the legit star power that Edmonton does. Obviously, Draisaitl and McDavid, both better than them. But Eichel on his day, we saw it. He was unbelievable in that series against the Oilers until the Oilers decided, oh, we're just going to play very hard defense and he's not going to be able to do anything anymore. But he was the reason Vegas was kind of in that series. The only guy that showed up, Mark Stone, didn't quite look himself. Barbashev's a bit hit and miss. Dorofeyev, can he extend off his 35-goal campaign? Thomas Hertl, another 30-goal campaign. Like, this is the team for me, and their bottom 6, I would think, is similar to Edmonton's. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think
it's
probably a little bit better.
Yeah, this is sort of similar to the Oilers in the way that it's top heavy, more so than the Kings where it's bottom heavy.
Yeah,
I think.
Blue line, obviously no Alex Pietrangelo, but their top 4 is still really, really good. Shea Theodore, McNabb, Noah Hannafin, Zach Whitecloud, but their bottom pairing of Lazon and Caden Kozak, who just signed a 4-year deal, I believe it was 4 years. Still legit. It seems inevitable they're getting Rasmus Anderson at some point.
Yeah, it does. It's the only place he seems to want to go.
Which is crazy that I understand the UFA thing, but just like Calgary, you got to be like, no, we actually hold the cards here. Like, you don't have rights in this. So Goaltending, Aiden Hill, good goalie. How much better is he than Stuart
Sort of the
Skinner at
same
this
thing.
point? Probably similar. So the question is, are the Edmonton Oilers a better team than the Vegas Golden Knights on paper?
I mean, the Golden Knights finished well ahead of the Oilers in the
Well
standings
ahead,
last
yeah.
year in the regular season, and I think they're a better suited regular season team just because they don't play in northern Alberta in the terrible winter. They don't travel. It's not the same experience being the Oilers and the Golden Knights, but I think when they match up in the playoffs, this is, even if there's 15, 20 points difference in the standings during the regular season, these are two teams that are very close in the playoffs, but I don't think the Golden Knights became a better playoff team this offseason. Alex Pietrangelo losing that on your blue line, and also Nicholas Hague as well, that's very tall, long reach,
loss.
very physical D-man. And who they bring in is Mitch Marner, who, I mean, plus 100-point season, very good playmaking winger, can penalty kill as well. But the reason the Maple Leafs didn't re-sign Mitch Marner is because he has never showed up for the team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they went out and brought in a guy who, I mean, maybe he becomes a better playoff performer now that he's not playing in his hometown for his childhood team. Like, Jack Eichel's a better player now on Vegas than he was for the Buffalo Sabres. And, you know, it's a different situation. But I don't know, if you're Vegas and you just lost in 5 games to the Oilers in the second round of the playoffs, I don't know if going out and getting a historic playoff choker is the move that's going to push you over the top.
D is in. He says Vegas has a better forward group, better defense, and comparable goaltending. I would slightly disagree on the defense. I agree with you on the goaltending. I don't think there's large margins between that. For the forward group, I just think because there's less question marks on Vegas' forward group overall, I would probably give them the advantage, and therefore I guess I would give them the full advantage on being the best team on paper in the division just through the regular season. We're not talking about the playoffs as well, just kind of looking where everything is, because kind of point of this exercise was, although the Oilers seemed like they didn't do a lot, it's also important to recognize that like, not many other teams in their division, you can look around the other division as well in the West, like, got that much better.
No.
Like, no one really went out there and like blew it out of the water of teams that are like going to be legit contenders against the Edmonton Oilers.
Nobody made a huge ad that also didn't have a huge loss, I would say. Like the Marner addition for Vegas, that's a great addition to get Marner, but losing Pietrangelo. At this point, I mean, if you're going for just one season, you're talking about it just for next year, on the Golden Knights, looking at their roster, I'd probably rather have a healthy prime Pietrangelo playing than Mitch Marner, quite honestly, given their roster setup. So I don't have an easy time saying the Golden Knights got better. Whereas when you look at the Oilers, like the most significant player they lost, I guess, is Corey Perry with his 19 goals. And you look at Perry, Jeff Skinner, Victor Arvidsson, and Connor Brown. The Oilers lost 63 goals between those 4 players. And then you think, okay, full season of Trent Frederick. You have a prospect like Matt Savoy, Andrew Mangiapane. Can those guys, one more guy, I guess, Curtis Lazar, whoever it winds up being playing in that bottom 6 role, can those guys come together and score 60 goals? It's hard to say, but I mean, it's not difficult to imagine the Oilers go out ahead of the deadline and find a winger who's better than a 40-year-old Corey Perry.
Totally agree.
They're not replacing Alex Pietrangelo, which Rasmus Andersson is not Alex Pietrangelo either.
No, very good player though. But final poll, 55 to 95%. 55% of the people in the chat said the Oilers do not have the best roster in the Pacific. Like we kind of said, very fine margins. I think I would tend to agree, and I think that's also fine.
It's basically 1A, 1B.
Yeah, like it's not a big margin. Aaron, any thoughts? You have a microphone in front of you. We haven't really heard from you today. Here he comes.
The LA Kings, kind of the same thing applies to me. Like, they got better. You get your Corey Perry additions, you get whatever, but you lose Vladislav Gavrikov.
That is true.
That's a pretty big loss. That's a pretty big loss. The guy's pretty good. I don't know. I like when you look in paper. Once again, it's going to be the argument forever. The Oilers, I think, are weaker in the bottom 6, but does their top end talent make up for that? I think so.
I would think.
But once again, you're just leaning on 97-29. That's 2 guys I'm comfortable leaning on.
A few people saying in the chat, Pat's fan and shooter. Freddie is trash. Let's give him some time. He was not good by any means in the playoffs. It's also been like well recognized that he was significantly injured, and it took him a while to get to it.
Also,
he has. Sorry, Aaron. He has to prove it. There's no doubt about it.
The more I see some of those deals that got handed out,
oh, I know it doesn't look so bad.
I'm
Even
down
the Connor
with that.
Brown one.
I'm down with that.
The Connor Brown one, yeah.
I was surprised.
That was
I thought he
very
was going to wind up
surprised.
getting 2 years or something.
Yeah, I just really like the ruthlessness from the team. I've been like, we've got to bring everyone back, because I think when you look at they obviously didn't win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
but they still went that far back-to-back years. It's good to bring in fresh legs.
It is.
And get guys going. Like, Mangiapane didn't play he played two playoff rounds. He didn't play the year before. Curtis Lazar, he was significantly injured last season. Missed a lot of games. He's a lot fresher now if you listen to his interview with Gregor yesterday. So I think that's interesting, but let's kind of move on.
I go, my one concern for this team, you guys mentioned like Matias Janmark, if you could deal him. Granted, that was just from the chat. I'm very concerned about the Oilers penalty kill. Because it was dog shit in the playoffs. It was dog shit in the regular season. You've lost Connor Brown. And like, I know I brought this up to Ty before, and he's like, well, Matt Savoy can do it. Freddie can do it. Philp can do it. And I'm like, can they? I don't know. That's where
Frederick
I'm concerned.
can penalty kill in Boston, so I wouldn't expect
him
to.
He did a few years ago.
But he wasn't good.
He
seems like a typical guy that his style of play would work.
He looks like he might be able to. I really do think that's going to come down to coaching. And it sounds like Knobloch is changing his entire staff.
Was that Mark Stewart?
That was Mark Stewart. Yeah. Obviously, Gulletson is now with Dallas.
Yeah.
Paul Coffey, I haven't heard a whisper.
Don't know.
I don't know. If he comes back, great. If he doesn't, thank you, Paul.
It's
you
fine.
really changed the narrative on the old boys club. I'll tell you that much.
I think it's fine after your second loss in the Stanley Cup final in a row to shake some things up. The Oilers don't have to completely rehaul stuff, but change things up. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on to the news because we are already running out of time. The news is brought to you by Liquor Law. When employers cross the line, Liquor Law is here to referee. If you've been fired without cause, pushed out of your job, or treated unfairly at work, a good employment lawyer can help you. Call for backup so you can defend your rights and make sure you get what you're owed. Go to liquorlaw.com and book your free consult today. There you go. Level the playing field at Liquor Law. Lawyers you love. There you go. We love him. There's not a ton of news. New rosters if you own a Trent Frederick jersey. New numbers, roster numbers if you own a Trent Frederick jersey. Number 10 for Trent Frederick if you're looking to become the lucky owner of an Andrew Mangiapane jersey. You can just get your Brendan Davidson one, change out the name, throw Mangiapane.
Who are the other 88s in Oilers?
I don't know because Brandon Davidson didn't wear that was 2017. He was obviously part of the David Desharnais trade.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm just pulling up the 88s. There's only two players who have worn it. Okay, the other one's Rob Shrimp.
Ooh, how could we forget? Friend of the show, Rob
Exactly.
Shrimp. Shout out Rob Shrimp. Other news: preseason schedule released yesterday by the team. The Oilers will do a split squad against the Calgary Flames September 21st. They'll play the Winnipeg Jets on the road the 23rd. If you're looking to get to a few home games this preseason, they have 3 in a row. Against Seattle on the 24th, Winnipeg on the 26th, Vancouver on the 28th, and they're back on the road again October 1st, October 3rd. Of course, with the new CBA coming in, this will be the last time they play 8 preseason games.
That's disturbing, 8 preseason games.
Yeah, size a lot. So technically 7, I guess, in a way. Like, honestly, 6, because those split squads are clearly just rookies.
But isn't 84 games also just, what are we doing?
I know.
Yeah, I didn't expect the season to get longer.
As a pre-post guy, I was not thrilled with that news.
That's got to be facilitating expansions, right?
I would think so, which again is a really dumb thing. There is not enough talent in the NHL. Did the NHL not just watch the draft where guys were being projected to be fourth-line players?
There's a chance that Trent Frederick could be a very good Atlanta. What are they going to call the third team? 4 years from now, the Atlanta New Thrashers.
Well, like you even look at free agency. There's no players. Like Jack Roslovic was a top 10 player available. I think he's still available.
Still there.
Pius Suter, I know he's got 35 goals, but again, like another top player available. There was maybe 3 or 4 impact players available at this free agency. To me, I said this before on the shows, there needs to be expansion and movement in junior hockey and college hockey to make this work for the NHL. Like the NCAA needs to find a way to get more on the West Coast. They need the UCLAs, the USCs, Oregons, whoever else is out here. Like That's what they need. It can't just be all Hockey East and
all just the NHL, right? Because
exactly.
if you look at the model of professional sports for football in the U.S., you have the NFL, you have college, and then you have high school, which they watch Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it can't all just be continuously watching NHL teams. There has to be more of an investment in make the American Hockey League a more interesting league to follow, make it more accessible, easier to watch on TV. Invest in, like you said, the NCAA leagues, the junior leagues. There's a ton of different levels of hockey, and it doesn't always have to be all about the top level, but that's not really how it's going to work when the NHL wants to be all encompassing when it comes to just hockey in North America.
Yeah, I just think going to Atlanta and Austin, honestly, within the next 10 years is a huge mistake outside of, the owners get more money.
Sad for Quebec City. I feel for them. Like it feels perfect. There should be 8 Canadian teams. If there's going to be, what would it be, a 34 team league, why can't there be 8 Canadian teams? Like,
totally.
You want to put a team in Atlanta for the third time, can you put a team in Quebec City as well and just like if you're comfortable doing Atlanta for the third time, you can't give Quebec a second chance? Really?
And also too, like, Quebec would work.
Yeah.
You all know Atlanta's failing. We all know it. They don't even follow the sports teams they have there.
No.
Like, Atlanta for me is just not a sports town. But anyway, speaking of not sports towns, Nick Ehlers signs with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Sports in Raleigh, baby.
$51 million over 6 years, which works out to be about $8.5 million for Nick Ehlers. Really good player. Number 2 on number 3, 2-3, whatever you want to call him. Mitch Marner 1, Brock Besser, Ehlers. That was the top 3 on most boards. 29 years old, 24 goals, 63 points in 69 games for the Winnipeg Jets last season. I think that this is obviously a good move for Carolina. I will continue to say that Jesperi Kotkaniemi is our second-line center, and therefore the Carolina Hurricanes remain to be not a threat in the Eastern Conference with teams like Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida, Montreal.
Really Florida for me. I think it's Florida and Tampa, and it's...
Well, that's what I mean. Like, they breezed to the Eastern Conference Finals this year because they had to play Washington and a banged-up New Jersey team. Like, a healthy New Jersey team is probably able to beat Carolina, I would
At least make it interesting.
Yeah, totally. So,
I feel like he took a pay cut, though. Like, I mean, not a pay cut, but he could have got more money on the open.
Maybe.
Especially with 8 years with Winnipeg, right? If it was, you could be more than $51 million with the extra 2 years.
Did you see that he's just in Denmark right now? Like, he was negotiating his contracts in Denmark, and I can't remember who said this, but teams were calling up. I think it was Bill Guerin that said it on one of his press conferences. They called to see, he was asked about Ehlers, and he was just told immediately, he's like, hey, thanks for calling, Bill, but like, no interest in coming to Minnesota. And he's like, I wish they were all like that. Like, I'd have to beat around the bush with you guys. And like, it's just like straight to the point. He's like, great.
Don't want you to waste your time, man.
You're not going to leave Winnipeg and sign with Minnesota.
No, it sounds like it sounds like it was Carolina, Washington with a big 2, and Tampa Bay was trying to make a push.
Yeah, see, 3 sort of similar sort of ideas there.
Yeah.
Southeast Division.
Exactly. The
Classic Southeast Division.
Southeast
Division.
Where Winnipeg used to play.
Yeah, exactly. The Thrashers, of course.
That was a crazy year for them. Maybe you can give us a bit more on this, Cam, but Stan Bowman spoke to Bob Stauffer the other day, and in his interview, he talked about the negotiations with Evan Bouchard, and this was the line. He said, I guess getting him signed was critical. I guess the negotiations... an 8-year term was never really in the cards. The agent indicated that wasn't something they thought made sense. I think it's really a function of the salary cap, and that's what's going on. We certainly know the next 3 years is going up considerable amounts. We do know what those numbers are, and I think we don't know where it goes beyond that. But a projection that it will continue to rise. He also went on in that interview to say how much he just loves to play in Edmonton as well. And he was like, he wanted to be here. He also mentioned they had spoken to teams in the NHL about a potential offer sheet and fully expected one to come down if they can get this deal done. So, I mean, I think this is just the future. I think teams with like intelligent agents, to be honest, like Connor McDavid, are just not going to sign 8-year deals. I know Mitch Marner just did, and even Ehlers, like you said, Aaron, whoever it was, Cam. I only had 2 options. I might have got it wrong. Nick Ehlers could have signed 8 years in Winnipeg, and for more money, and he just didn't.
Yeah, there's really honestly no way at this stage. And I mean, if you're an agent, this is how I'd venture pretty much all the agents are going to be advising their clients at this stage is you can't predict economically what the NHL is going to look like in 5 years because you're going to have an entirely different landscape for media and streaming than than what you've had in the past, and how the league's going to pull in money. So we know the salary cap's going to go up the next few years to the number. I think it's, what is it, a little over 100 million?
Yeah.
So we know that already, but where's it going to be in 2032 or something like that, when there's completely different revenue streams for the NHL, or there's 2 more expansion teams that have come in and both of them have paid $2.5 billion to come into the league, or whatever it's going to wind up being. You have no idea what a number one 80-point defenseman is going to be paid in 2032 or something like that. Because look, you got Cale Makar set to become a UFA after the 2026-27 season, so he's going to reset the market again for elite puck moving defensemen, and then after that, there might be somebody else. I think Quinn Hughes is going to have another contract on the horizon as well, because everyone's talking about him potentially signing with the New Jersey Devils. So again, another player is going to reset the market. And then if you're Evan Bouchard, you don't want to be sitting there watching as all these guys are re-signing new ridiculous deals, 14, 15, 16, who knows? And you're making your deal for 8 years, 11 million, and you're putting up 90 points a season playing with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It doesn't really make any sense for these guys to lock in knowing where the league's going.
Yeah. DY, sorry. In the past 3 years, Dobson has comparable numbers in time and ice, even strength points, game-winning goals, power play goals to Evan Bouchard. The only difference is Oilers finished first in goals for, and Islanders finished 25th. I would also tell you something that isn't comparable is Noah Dobson has 10 career playoff points. Yeah. Evan Bouchard had 23 last season.
Like an all-time playoff performer.
Yeah, 81. And I think, that is the big difference that you need to wrap your head around with this. And obviously, Dobson hasn't necessarily had the same way of going about it, but the Islanders made the playoffs 2 years ago, and he only had a point. I think Dobson's a really good player, but I don't think he's on the same level as Bouchard, and there's a reason Bouchard went 2 spots higher than him in the 2018 draft as well. So, good player.
On the Bouchard thing, would we all love 8 years? That's just not the reality. I think get ready for McDavid. I always bring it up. LeBron signs a 2-year deal with a player option
every year
because the cap keeps going up. And hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you can get that much money, it makes sense to do it. I feel like this is Bouch. This is just me saying it, but he's like, hey, here's 4 years at 10.5 that let's go for this thing, and then we'll adjust after that. You see it in other sports like the NFL. Patrick Mahomes can redo his deal because he watched every other quarterback pass him in value. They're not worth more money than him.
Baseball players opt-outs.
You can't do that in the NHL, so
which is a shame.
Get used to it.
That would be great if you could. The last piece of news before we get to Ruben real quickly, because we don't have long left. Luka Munzenberger signed in Germany today.
That's
very well to the 99th overall pick.
That's probably the best way you can summarize Ken Holland / Tyler Wright's drafting in Edmonton, which was who was the goalie they could have drafted from Minnesota? I'm forgetting the name right now.
Jesper Wallstedt.
Jesper Wallstedt.
But you're forgetting the most important name that they didn't draft.
Who was that?
Wyatt Johnson.
Right, of course. Yeah, there was 2 players right ahead they could have had, and they traded down to get Xavier Bourgault, and then they used the other pick they got in the trade down on Luka Munzenberger, who was at the time even like a not even ranked prospect.
He wasn't ranked.
In the 3rd round. Looked like someone they could have gotten the 6th or 7th round, but traded down to do that. This is M.A. Pouliot, J.F. Jacques stuff.
Yes, it is.
And Wyatt Johnson's the new Zach Parise.
Kyle keeps putting in the chat. He is talking about more about expansion. There's not a lot more to talk about. People are asking about Isaac Howard. There's not really a lot more to discuss.
Why can't Tampa sign him? What's going on there? Why doesn't he want to play for the Lightning?
But why? There was something about he wants to turn pro. They don't want him to. There's something about bonuses in his contract. I believe it just started from he wanted to sign with them, and then they said no, and then he went and won the Hobie Baker. Might be in the timelines mixed up a little bit there, but I believe that was kind of the start of the conversation. And now he's going into his 4th year of college after winning the Hobie Baker. Yeah, and it's just like...
What's he majoring in?
I would assume gardening.
Basket weaving?
I can't imagine he's attending too many classes. But either way, Luka Munzenberger gone. What a shame.
Devastating.
Quickly, let's go into the rumor mill. Brought to you by Star Mechanical. Star Mechanical is one of Edmonton's biggest locally owned and operated plumbing and heating businesses. They've been working within the community for over 20 years, and many of the homes built in Edmonton over the last 2 decades have had their plumbing and heating systems installed by Star Mechanical. Visit them at starmechanical.ca to schedule an appointment and let them keep your home running smoothly.
That was your best.
You like that?
That was good. Good cousin. You like that?
So... I've been listening to Bob quite a bit recently. Bob Stoffer. May have heard of him. He's in the chat quite often. Rick Precy, who is he's a head scout. I don't know if he's directly amateur scouting. I can't remember what his exact title is. You all know who he is. One of the scouts for the Oilers. Make some decisions. He said on Bob's show they look to trade into the first round. Again, obviously it didn't happen, but he didn't really say obviously who the player was or if they were picked or if the deal kind of didn't come through. He just mentioned Bob Strader asked him if they tried to do it, and he said yes. And that would have been interesting. The Oilers obviously only have one pick, if I'm not mistaken, which is 2027.
Because 26 has gone to San Jose.
So then they would have one after that in 2028 being available. Because in the draft year after, I believe, opens up once you kind of move on to the next season. I'm not sure who they were looking at because a lot of the guys at the bottom weren't the best unless they were looking at someone like that Mason West, for example, who was obviously the college commit Michigan State, but the guy who didn't know it was his draft year and also was the quarterback for his high school at Adena High School in Minnesota. That would have been interesting. Again, there was no...
Will Horkoff?
Honestly... Might not have been like a craziest thing.
You look at his birthday and then you do the math with the 2006 run.
Hey.
Really?
I think so. January of 2007 was his birthday.
Guys at the bottom of the draft. Riker Lee. Leiden Lakowski. I don't know if any of these guys...
Maybe it was right after the triple overtime game against San Jose.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, moving on. Also in the rumor mill. Where did my sheet go? I mentioned this earlier in the show. Dave Pagnotta said that Andrew Mangiapane, he believes, received a $5 million offer from a Western Conference team. He speculated. He didn't say it was this team. But he's like, I wonder if it was the San Jose Sharks, a team who was just trying to make the cap floor, and that's why they picked up Orlov and Nick Leddy yesterday as well. So that was an interesting one. And also Elliot Freeman came out and said that the Oilers are looking for a potential backup goalie upgrade.
That's interesting.
Who that will be, we'll stay tuned. Still available on free agency for goalies would be guys like Ilya Samsonov, Vitek Vanacek, I believe is still an option, which would be just the absolute kick in the nuts for Calvin Pickard, would it not? That would suck for him. The other guys too, as I pull up here quickly.
None of these names are better than picks, in my opinion. I've seen him do it in front of this team.
And at $1 million too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the guys who are still currently available, free agency, maybe they just go and do a trade as well, who knows. But Gorgiev, Ilya Samsonov, James Reimer, and that's it. Fleury. Samsonov last season, .890 save percentage, 2.82 goals against average on Vegas. James Reimer had the best of the bunch, .897 save percentage, 3.03 on Buffalo. He might have played a couple of games for Anaheim too, I'm not sure. And Gorgiev, we all know. The myth of Alexander Gorgiev.
Yeah. I think it's got to be an in-season trade. I don't see there's someone on the trade market I'm missing. I don't know who it is, but I think this would be an in-season thing. I don't really know.
I hammered Stuart Skinner to start game one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just put my solo on?
It's the new Mike Smith, Mikko Koskinen. Just
yeah. I'm sorry this is happening to you again, Naeem. Every year we talk about goalies, and every year we have to disagree. And I know you want one so bad, but I just don't think it's going to happen right now. We can go back to the other one.
That was for you, Naeem.
There you go, Naeem. I hope you enjoyed that. Anything else on the news? Oh, we can quickly look at Canada's roster. I know we don't have a lot of time. Sorry. Tyler's way better at time management than I am. People keep saying C-Loves. I mean, maybe, yeah, sure. This was a great screen grab from someone on Twitter. TSN's projected roster for the Olympics this upcoming season. Oilers on this roster, the only two are Zach Hyman and Connor McDavid. A lot of familiar faces from the Four Nations face-off top line. Hyman, McDavid, Point, second line Crosby, McKinnon, Travis Konechny, which I don't think he makes it. He was scratched quite a bit in the Four Nations. Brandon Hagel, Nick Suzuki, Mitch Marner. Nick Suzuki not on the team for the Four Nations, sorry. Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson. I don't see him making the team. Brad Marchand also I think is questionable. Mark Scheifele should have made Four Nations. Blue line, Devon Taves, Cale McCarr. Devon Taves can't play without Cale McCarr. Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, Shea Theodore, Drew Doughty, Thomas Harley, Mackenzie Weegar, goalies, Binnington, Montembeault, Logan Thompson. I promise you Logan Thompson is not on this team. I have inside sources that tell me otherwise.
Is it Logan Thompson?
Sources.
Doxed.
Obviously no Evan Bouchard. He should probably be on this team.
No Darnell Nurse?
No
No
Darryl.
Stu Skinner?
No, yeah. Stu probably won't make this team unless
You don't
things
think so?
change drastically. I think the goal is he'll just be the same.
What if Team Canada just goes with the Stu picks combo in net?
Then they'll lose.
Travis Konechny looked like a fish out of water during the Four
He
Nations.
did not
I
look
don't-
like he was capable of playing to that standard. I would also say, if Zach Hyman didn't make the team after a slow season last year, how on God's green earth is he going to make the team when he doesn't start the season?
Yeah, coming off of a major injury and they got him penciled on top left wing.
This might be the worst collaboration of Canada players you could put together, TSM.
Not worse than the 2006 Olympic team.
Fair.
Ooh.
But I just think there's a lot of stuff on here that's just like, what are we doing?
Creating talking points and reasons to argue on the internet.
Yeah, who would have thought, hey?
It doesn't sound like something.
Now go check out my video of 10 potential players the others could
10
get.
extreme reactions to TSN's Canada roster.
There you go. I think Bouchard should be on the team. I honestly don't see a word where Zach Hyman makes the team because purely based off the fact he might not start the season. Anyway, Bet365. Let's go into that really quickly here. And this segment is brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, this is a quick one because there is one bet I want to bring up if you can. And I need you to let me know what you think. It's the team to make the playoffs. Currently, they are plus 130. And they were a playoff team last season. They're an Eastern Conference team. The Montreal Canadiens are plus 130 to make the playoffs next season. You're probably wondering, who do they have going in? The New York Rangers are minus 200. Do you think the Montreal Canadiens will be a playoff team next year?
I actually do, yeah. It feels like
I
they're
do
sort of
too.
moving in the right direction. Them and the Sens, yeah.
Yeah. I think they're
sort of in there as lower Eastern Conference playoff teams that lose in the first round.
they'll compete for third and finish fourth in their division.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think they got a lot
It
better.
sort of looks like Florida, Toronto, and then
Tampa.
both. Yeah, that's true. Tampa's
Yeah.
there too. Tampa's 3, and then Ottawa, Montreal are there, sort of.
Right there.
4A, 4B.
Yeah. I think Montreal would be a lock for me to make the playoffs. Aaron, would you agree?
I think so. And that
wouldn't
just
call
made
them
me
a
look
lock.
at the reverse. Rangers to miss plus
Yeah.
160.
That's kind of what I'm
I
betting
don't hate
against.
that. I don't hate that.
I think the Metro is a very overrated division, sorry. I think Montreal's a legit team. I think they're really good. Their center depth is solid. Montembeault's, we don't know. Obviously, they made the big splash to get Dobson, but Montembeault, if the others are making it with Skinner every year, then Montembeault's probably on the same par.
Blue Jackets plus 225 to make the playoffs.
They only finished 2 points out last year.
That's juicy. Plus
Metro
225.
sucks. The Metro division is not that good anymore because Pittsburgh is not that team.
What
and neither
about
are
the
Rangers.
Western teams? Are any of these teams going to fall out? I could see St. Louis falling out after last year's run.
I could too. They're minus 110 both sides. to hit
Utah
on
could
this.
jump up. Minnesota could fall out. I see Utah making the playoffs.
They actually have Utah as I would assume, I'm not going through that, minus 130 to make the playoffs. See, what's Anaheim? Anaheim is plus 375. If you're feeling a bit crazy, that's not a terrible one.
I kind of want to make a parlay out of these. I'm looking at
I don't know if you
Flames to
can.
miss is only minus 290. I mean, that you throw that in with a couple things that kind of,
Can you do two
I
teams?
don't know.
No, you can't. Too bad.
What do
Sorry,
they
Kyle.
have? I don't actually think this is going to happen, but it's an interesting one to talk about just because they're probably the most likely team to step back. What is Winnipeg missing the playoffs?
Winnipeg to miss the playoffs is plus 215.
I don't know if-
Every year
yeah.
we do this, though.
We always talk about Winnipeg falling off a cliff.
And then they go and win the Western Conference
Yeah, they're
in the regular season.
They can't have 2 good seasons in a row. That's not what the
Surely
Jets do.
not. Okay, that's it for about 365. One more ad read, folks, and it's somewhere you should go check out this weekend. Head down to Greta. Ooh. Go play the football game. Have a couple of beers, maybe a Budweiser or two. Go check it out. You can get down to Greta. Arcade, bar, and street food. Great food down at Greta. I love the chicken nuggets they have. What are they called? Street nuggies, Aaron?
Street nuggies.
There you go. It's not getting better than a good old street nuggie
It's
on
be-
a Friday night.
It's been a minute since I've
Chicken
been at
Bouchard.
Greta. They also have this thing coming up that I was telling you about. I'm just looking it up. If you want to eat 100 wings in 100 minutes, July 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, they're doing a wing challenge. You can get a T-shirt if you complete it.
There you go. And what do you want? Free clothes? Come on. I know your bellies will be full. The wings are actually delicious as well.
They are.
So go check out Greta. That's a wrap on the show today, I think. Well, I don't think that's definitely it. Thank you to everyone that contributed on the show today. Always appreciate your comments. Even you, D. White. I know you don't like Evan Bouchard, but I appreciate that you comment every day. It's keeps the show flowing.
Hey, if you're in the chat right now as we enter the dog days, I love you.
Yeah, 474 people watching. So thanks a lot to everyone checking the show out. Elks do play this weekend. They play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on Sunday.
Looking to go 0-4.
My buddy has to do a cheerleading. He's been rehearsing with cheerleaders for this halftime show this weekend as his fantasy football punishment. So here we go. It's going to be a good one. Apparently he has a solo, so keep a lookout for that on Sunday. I'll be there.
If you're going to the game, go check that out. Even you, Kyle. No longer wise, Kyle. I hope you picked up on that throughout the show today. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on Monday.
Oil up.
Oil up.